Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very special nightly edition again of Lady Parts. I'm Liron Cohen.
I'm Mimi Torchin.
And we are sitting here at our 11 p.m.
Sofa.
spot.
Yeah. The other side of the house.
Again, you may be detecting a theme. We
11
are
o'clock
waiting.
at night.
11 o'clock at night. Who's our date this Wednesday at 11 o'clock at night?
It's very exciting.
We are waiting for a very, very special person to Skype us. And who might that be?
Well,
would you like to guess? Nah, just don't.
Never mind. It's everybody's favorite new girl on the cell block, Ali Novak, the beautiful, talented, and electrifying Kate Jenkinson.
Woo! We are so excited, and we're so grateful that Kate graciously accepted our invitation to talk to us. So we gave her our digits, and now we sit and wait by the phone.
Hi, ladies.
Hi.
Hi. Turn you off.
Oh, gosh, it's like watching your videos.
Well, we need to see you in teal for you to look like we see you.
I should have thought this through. I should have updated my costume for you.
But you have the right backdrop.
You're in my favorite look ever, though.
It's a little something I prepared earlier.
Oh,
Thank you so much.
Where are you?
I'm actually at the Wentworth headquarters.
Fabulous.
Well, if at any point you feel like taking the computer out and just...
Good. I mean, I could take you through the halls, but I'm sure, who knows what the reception would be.
trouble.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is fantastic.
Thank you so much.
So much. This is going to mean so much to the viewers, and it
Thank
means.
you. I mean, I greedily said yes just because I wanted to talk to you, ladies. So this is completely self-serving for me.
Well, we're happy to
Anytime.
hear that. Anytime you are, just pick up the phone, and here we are.
Oh, well, it's my pleasure. I was saying on Instagram just today, and I'm very new to the whole social media thing, but I do feel incredibly lucky to be a part of a show that has such passionate and loyal and invested fans. It's a first for me, and it's a pleasure to talk to you ladies too, because I'm a fan of your
Thank you. Well, of course, the feeling is mutual.
Naturally. Can you just tell us, I'm sure you watched the finale yesterday, right? You sat like everybody else?
I actually watched it in Australia on Tuesday night, till Tuesday, with everybody else. I had not seen the episode before. And, so I was experiencing everything in real time with all of the other fans in Australia, and it was pretty brutal. It was a pretty brutal hour.
I'm sure it was. It must have. It just must have been emotional.
Incredibly so. And I mean, I had the advantage that I had read the script, and there was a discrepancy about maybe what would have happened in the ending. There was talk of maybe an alternate ending, but I had an idea of what was going to happen. So even armed with that knowledge, I still felt my heart being ripped out of my chest. And I watched it with Tammy McIntosh, who played Kaz.
Yes.
And we were very, very emotional, and thank God we were watching it together, because I needed the emotional support.
Somebody exactly.
As opposed to watching it with Kaz, who has no emotional support for anybody.
Oh,
No,
true.
she would have been thrilled at the ending.
Exactly. I wanted to know what. Have you ever been a part of anything like this with this pairing, this couple, this Bally?
And she never uses squish
I
names.
hate squish names. I was in the soap opera industry, and I hated them.
Danielle, oh really? Danielle and I actually predicted that there would be a hashtag ship squish name.
Of course.
And she was right. She said it would be Bally. I thought that it would be Bealie, so Beallie. So Dan was right. She predicted that it would be hashtag Bally. And I, being a relative novice to the whole social media world, I was completely unprepared for the fandom and how much support that Bally had, and it's pretty amazing and a special thing to be a part of. And no, to answer your question, no, I've never obviously been acting for a long time, but I've never been part of a show or a kind of an online couple, an on-screen couple that has sort of transcended the show and begun to represent something more to the fans than just a relationship on screen. And I'm just realizing that now too, and from my interactions with fans online, I'm beginning to realize that it does mean more to people than just scripted words and characters on a screen. It does represent something a lot more meaningful and sort of deeply rooted in people's sense of identity and all the rest of it. And that's pretty amazing.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I mean, I think that Bally, I mean, we all expected Bally to take off, but I think it took off in ways that even we didn't anticipate.
Yeah.
I mean, and we are kind of experts.
And we felt the chemistry. The chemistry was immediate.
One has said that, and obviously Dan is just a delightful human being and a dear friend, and so we felt that we connected on a very intimate, personal level as friends, and I feel like we were both confident that transcended to the screen. But yeah, people have really got on board, so I'm pleased.
Did you audition together to test your chemistry?
I did, and initially I was scandalized that I was asked for a second audition, because I thought I nailed my first audition so perfectly. I'm like, well, what more can they want from me? But I'm very glad that I got to do a chemistry test with Dan, because as I'm learning, the more I'm in this industry, it doesn't really have everything to do with being the best candidate or the best actor. It has so much to do with that kind of intangible chemical reaction that happens when two people meet. And I think Dan said this, that it felt right even from that first day that we met and auditioned. It felt right, and I think that's what the fans have picked up on.
You can't manufacture it.
No, you
can't fake it. You can't act it. It has to really, really be there. And having come from the soap opera industry, which I talk about a lot because that's where my roots were. I ran a soap opera magazine and did a lot of other things. Being part of that kind of a real couple catapults people into the stratosphere as far as the fans are concerned. And they can throw people together. Doesn't work. They just disappear into the ether of nothingness. But then you get this lightning in a bottle, like you and Dan had, and it just explodes on screen, and people feel it. It comes through, and it touches something inside people, and especially, again, a gay relationship, a lesbian relationship,
which people
even
are
in a women's
for.
Prison, there isn't that much of, but it's something that isn't represented that much, and it was like a fantasy almost.
Yeah, and a huge responsibility, I think, too, because it wasn't a disposable relationship. It could never have been a disposable relationship, because it's B. Smith. It's the character that brought us into the prison. You know everything about her history, her terrible, abusive past relationships. It had to be something that buoyed her into a different kind of level of living. And if we didn't have that very kind of basic chemistry with one another and our basic love for each other, it wouldn't have worked, and it would have been such a disservice to the fans and to the show
and to the character.
Yeah, B deserved love, regardless of whether that was with a woman or a man or, a puppy, if a puppy chose
to. Chihuahua, exactly.
She deserved a very, very real love, and we felt that it was real, and I'm just so glad that the people who've watched the show did as well.
You played it so beautifully.
And it wasn't just the two of you together, but what Ali brought out of B. I mean, this was, I think, our favorite B this season.
Just brought out was the best B ever, and because of Ali. And I love that she never gave up on her. And it was a beautiful, beautiful love story. It really, really was. It was a real love story.
I think so too. And the fact that B was able to put aside her kind of aversion to anything and anyone that had to do with drugs, and saw the person behind the problem, and I think they both needed each other as much as they needed each other equally.
And it was actually almost a healing experience, because she did with Ali what she couldn't do with her daughter, and so it was like reliving something and feeling now, that she could change the fact she could prevent something, she could help the person that she loved. So it was
Yeah.
very beautiful to watch. And again, just
Thank you.
kudos
Kudos
to
and
all,
thank
all
you.
involved.
Exactly. And it was beautifully written.
Well, it was incredible to be a part of.
So the finale aired. It was very
Devastating.
epic. Very, very epic.
Thanks.
Could you tell us, when did you find out that B was going to die? What was your reaction? What was kind of the reaction on set?
Well, the thing about being a part of a show like Wentworth, that's kind of shrouded in so much mystery, is that we're never really given the full story. And even now that the show has aired and we're dealing with the aftermath, we still haven't been given the whole story. We constantly are still hearing different pieces of information. So it's difficult, but we got delivered a script, and in the script was the ending that we all saw, and it was really devastating, and I think I took it so much harder than I feel like I would have ever taken a similar plot line in a different story. I think in a different show. I mean, I think it's because I was so invested in that love story, and I felt like it was in its infancy, and it was so brutal to kind of rip those people apart at just the moment they had totally found one another. I was totally heartbroken, and I think I, like everybody who watched the show, initially thought, well, this is wrong and the show is over, and how can we possibly get over this main pivotal character not being part of our show. But the more I spoke to Danielle about it, who is wise beyond words, the more I spoke to her about it, the more I realized that there's kind of a gift in letting a character like that go at the peak of her journey. And I think it's a very, very brave choice for the producers to have made, because obviously everybody is emotionally invested in that character, but there was nothing that B hadn't done on the inside and on the outside. The only thing that she'd never really conquered was love, and then she did. So I think everyone, including the cast, were faced with the dilemma of what do you do with a character that has done everything? It's kind of like, what birthday gift do I give Kim Kardashian? That girl has everything. What can you do with a character that's already done everything? And I think the choice was made to take that character away, which would then completely disrupt the equilibrium within the prison, and therefore buoy all of the characters into action. So I think that was a very long-winded answer, but to answer your more specific question,
fabulous answer.
It is.
But to answer your more specific question, I was personally completely devastated. I think, if I remember correctly, I threw a proper adult tantrum and cried. And I said, well, I'm not going to be a part of a show that doesn't have Danielle Cormack in it. And I went full Sarah Bernhardt. And
in your house, in front of the mirror, or to actual people?
In front of Danielle. I felt that it was the wrong decision, but I have since realized that even though it's hard and it's devastating, it sits so well within the reality of the show. It's prison, and it's always been life or death for B, and I feel like it's an interesting and bold and kind of great choice for the show, as heartbreaking as it is.
I think that that's a fantastic answer. I agree with it. There were things that I didn't even think about. This idea that she had done everything now, and now where was she to go? And
I think the worst thing, the worst fate that could have befallen B was that she become boring. That would have been, and I totally sympathise with all the beautiful fans out there on Instagram, people saying that, you know, the show won't go on without her, and that she was the main character. You know, she was all that anyone was interested in the show, and all of that kind of thing. But I do think that it honours her in a way to let her go out on a high, as opposed to have her stay in prison and get boring. You know,
be shivved in the shower. You know,
she's not
Joe Ferguson.
Yeah, and from a purely kind of practical level, when you're making a television show as opposed to watching a TV show as a fan, you kind of have to make decisions based on what is going to create the best for all storylines. And I think if B had stayed around, I feel like her character would have become pedestrian. You know, what could Ali and her have achieved? They would have had to break up. They would have had to get back together, and it's sort of become standard. And Wentworth is anything but standard. It's so hard, and it feels like it's too soon, and I feel all of that too. But I think that's what makes it so compelling. I think that's what makes it such riveting television, because it's the last thing that you would have thought of, and it's the last thing that you want to happen. But now, not only do all the characters within Wentworth have to deal with that character not being there, all of the fans do as well. Mm-hmm. And so on that level, I think it's kind of genius.
Yeah, no, we said it was Shakespearean.
Shakespearean.
In epic, epic proportions.
Yes.
Yeah.
And for all the reasons you just mentioned.
She's a tragic character.
She always lived those extremes and those highs, and you're right. It reached the point where it was the absolute climax of everything she could have ever done, and then the heroic manner in which she died.
She was a martyr. She was amazing, and why would she want to live after she lost Ali?
Exactly.
She had nothing but life imprisonment inside those walls.
Yeah.
What was
feeling
left for
like
her?
she was responsible for the death of all the people that she cared about most. So,
but that was a very, very excellent answer, and it makes a lot of even more sense than to me, because I just followed the trajectory emotionally. I still felt it was right, as much as I didn't want to see Dan go and Bally be over and be dead. They built to it in such a way that it was grand.
And those last words,
I agree with you.
I win.
I win.
And then she says when Will is kind of tending to her, she says it'll be okay. It'll be okay. That got me. Oh my gosh.
And then that last shot. I knew that was coming. I said, she's alive. Her eyes are going to open right now.
I mean, too, I lost my mind.
You know what that is? Because the craftsmanship that goes into creating Wentworth, the cinematography and the editing and the sound, I'm sure it looks amazing on the page, but then
it's inimitable.
The
way that
it is perfection. Yeah. It is so magnificent. It's like watching an Academy Award winning movie every week.
That's incredibly generous. Thank you so much. I'm glad that you feel that way. I feel lucky every day that I'm part of a show that is so universally loved. It shouldn't be important that people love the work that you do, but it is lovely, and you can't help but feel like you're part of something that's more than just a television show.
Of course.
Absolutely.
And why there's nothing wrong with wanting people to love and admire your work. We all want our work to be admired and accepted and to be recognized as good work. And this is great work.
Oh, I'm so glad you guys like it. And it's,
love it.
you know, you guys are the epitome of why it's so special, because we have such incredibly thoughtful and loyal viewers who I feel like you're the 12th cast member. You know what I mean? You sort of solve the unanswered puzzle. Like, the show wouldn't be anything without the people who are invested in it. And quite literally, you know, we wouldn't have a show if we didn't have such fantastic, loyal fans.
Exactly.
So thanks for
We're
giving us a
delighted to
job.
be a part of it.
Yes,
That's
we
for
are.
sure.
Well, so we're gonna go back now to the past, because we Googled you and we tried to do some research, and I'm sure the fans are way
They
better,
know everything.
way better than us at research.
I am afraid of that Google machine. It brings up things from the past
Well,
that I
you
didn't
know
We
what?
didn't find anything to
That's
worry
the thing.
about.
We didn't find almost anything. I mean, I couldn't find a birthday for you. You said you were a private person. I guess you were serious.
So surprising to me, because now that I'm on this Instagram machine, I'm seeing pictures of me that I didn't even know were taken. So somehow lovely, read, potentially crazy fans have somehow found pictures of me on the internet that I didn't even know existed. So
Get used to
maybe
It's a scary world.
Get used to it.
I mean, kudos for the passion. It's pretty.
Yes, no, that's why I'm saying that they probably know everything, but we don't even know your birthday. We don't know where you grew up. We don't know your background.
Well, I'll give you the hot scoop. It's 24th of August, 1981.
You're my age. You're 2 months younger
It's
than
a
me.
wonderful age. Take it from someone who's married to this age.
Well, I think it's a great age too. I feel like it's only when you hit your mid-30s that you stop wishing that you were younger. I used to get so scared of aging, but not anymore. I feel like life only gets better.
Oh yeah, especially for women.
For women, absolutely.
And so your birthday's coming up. So what do you have? What do you plan?
I will be most likely working, which I love. I always enjoy working on my birthdays. To me, that's ideal, because you know, as in this industry, work is very kind of unreliable, and you never know what you're going to do. So I always like celebrating my birthday with another job and knowing that I'm busy and surrounded by people that I like and doing what I love. So I will be working. But I also have a very special friend coming from Los Angeles to visit me, and I'll be surrounded by friends, and yeah.
And you'll be FaceTiming with Rufus.
FaceTiming with Rufus. We know about Rufus.
Oh, Rufus, I mean, the real ruler of my heart. Forget B. Smith. It's Rufus.
What is his breed?
I don't know. It's Chihuahua, definitely.
That's what I see,
And I think maybe a little bit of Whippet or Italian Greyhound. He's very big. So I think one of those really nervous breeds, but I'm not sure.
I anticipate that
He was a rescue.
Rufus will have his own Instagram account any day
Any
now.
day now.
I see it happening.
Apparently, Rufus has had lots of offers from bitches out there in the Instagram who want to date him. So I think Rufus will be very busy.
Hashtag dogs of
Yes.
Instagram. Yeah.
There's nothing like a rescue.
We'll have to create a ship name for Rufus and all of his women.
Well,
Okay,
that will
we'll
be
think about
that
that.
will be easy. So what were your dreams when you were a child? Did you always want to be an actress? Did you have were you aiming for astronaut?
I wish I had aimed for astronaut. I feel like that would be a lot more badass than an actor. But I think I always did, but I don't think I was able to. I don't think I was able to kind of put that into. I don't think I was able to understand that. I was a child who was fascinated by people, and I was fascinated by television, but not in the way that most kids like TV. I would sit right up next to the TV and I would watch people's performances, and I'd run to the mirror and I would kind of reenact what I'd just seen on like a toothpaste commercial or something like that. And And so I think I was always destined to be a role player, I guess, but I didn't know until I was about 18 that that was actually a job that existed and that I could do that if I chose.
Sheltered life.
Yeah, I just always liked it sounds so pervy, but I liked staring at people and I liked kind of wondering what made them tick and kind of trying to imitate their mannerisms and that kind of thing. So yeah, my mum and dad used to always call me Sarah Bernhardt.
Me too.
So I think they really?
Yes, because I always wanted to be an actress too. And when I was a kid, the minute I'd get, like upset about something or dramatic about, the Sarah Bernhardt. It's universal.
We're sisters, so yeah. That my parents used to always call me Sarah Bernhardt because I guess I was a drama queen, and so I think they perhaps knew before I did. But then I grew up in a small town in Western Australia in Perth. I knew absolutely nothing about the industry. I knew nobody who was an actor, a director, a writer. It just seemed like that's Rufus texting me.
He's so smart.
It just seems like blowing up.
He's got to go to obedience school.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to text Rufus. Not now, puppy. So I had this inkling and this dream, I guess, that I could pretend to be other people for a living, but I had absolutely no way of actualizing that. And I sort of sat on my hands for about 2 years and just thought, well, I guess someone will just walk past me on the street and realize that I'm destined to be an actor and give me a job. But of course, it doesn't work that way. And I ended up auditioning for a wonderful, well-known drama school in my hometown, Western Australia, and that really kind of put me on the train. And if I hadn't been successful in that audition, then I truly don't know what I would be doing now, because I had no idea how to make the career happen. It kind of, I was very lucky. I'll put it that way.
That change our lives, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You go that way, it's all different.
Yeah, and I remember sitting at that audition, and I'd never done an acting audition in my entire life, and I remember being called down into the room, and I was so nervous, and I was ready to turn around and walk out the door and not do it. I was that nervous. I didn't want to be judged. But before I had the opportunity to escape, someone grabbed my hand and said, "It's going to be fine," and took me down into the audition room. And I got it somehow. Having never acted before, I managed to land myself in that fabulous school, and that kind of started everything for me.
Do you still get nervous at auditions before shows and all that?
I do. Yeah, I do. I don't think it ever leaves you, because I think there's always a desire to want to be good and do good. And I've been in the industry long enough to know that you can't possibly get every job that you audition for, but you can always do a good job. So for me, I think I get nervous because I always want to do the best that I possibly can. I never want to walk out of an audition thinking, well, I didn't put much effort into that, or I could have done a lot better. I always want to be the best failure that I can be.
There's no such thing as failure. There's only not getting a role.
Well, and
it's not really a failure, because it happens all the time.
And I always say, when people come out of auditions and they think, "Oh, why did I not get this role?" And you know what they're saying? "Oh, she's too short, or she's too tall, or she's too."
That was
so many times it has nothing to do with talent.
I have quite literally been rejected for being too tall twice in my life. As in, "Can you please take your shoes off?" "No, you're still too tall, but thanks for coming." So, it's as trivial as that. And in a way, that's kind of liberating, because what can you do? You can only be yourself. And
exactly.
But that actually leads me to a question I had for later, but it goes well with this subject, because I did do research, and in 2013, when they were talking to you, there was criticism about Rebel Wilson's fat joke, that she was she was making a lot of fat jokes on her own show.
Coming out on that, yeah.
On Super Fun Night. And you said, and I will quote, we're living in a time where you don't have to be glamorous and stick thin to be a lead character on TV. Now, this was in 2013. So my question is, having lived part-time at least in Hollywood for 3 years now, do you still find that to be true?
Yes and no. I think that it's a sad fact of this industry, and kind of a sad fact for the entire world, that it pays to be pretty, it pays to be white, it pays to be middle class or above, it pays to be straight, it pays to be as vanilla and standard and normal as possible. So yeah, a pretty blonde, thin girl there will always be a place for her in Hollywood. But I think that there is definitely now a push in the opposite direction, and I think diversity is being embraced in a way that it's never really been embraced before. I still think we have a huge way to go, but I do feel like we're getting there. And certainly my own personal experience in the last couple of years in LA is that it's almost now a disadvantage to be white because shows have a vested interest in making their content diverse, and I can't hate that, because it's the world that we live in, and it would be a terrible representation of life if everyone was white and straight and middle class and all that kind of thing. So I think that we're getting better. I think that we've got a long way to go, but
Rufus is a nag.
But yeah.
Yes. And Rebel actually is really helping to change that. Practically, she and Melissa McCarthy are
that's just two examples.
But it's they're so successful, and she must be fun to work with.
Rebel, she's brilliant. Absolutely. She actually texted me last night. She'd just seen the finale and she wanted to say that she loved it. And yeah. But I think what I love about people like Rebel and Melissa McCarthy and, even Kristen Wiig, who aesthetically you could say looks very different. What they represent to me is that it doesn't matter what they look like. They make us laugh because they're talented. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something that I like to hang on to. Your appearance, your persuasions, whatever you appear to be is completely irrelevant. If people connect to you on some level, that's what's important. And I think that is exactly where Bea was in this season. She never in her life, I'm putting words into her mouth, but okay. I don't imagine she ever would have thought she would be in a relationship with a woman. But sometimes you have to quote Bridget Westfall, you have to just fuck the labels, and if you fall into someone, you go for it.
Absolutely, especially when you're going to be in prison for the rest of your life, in a woman's prison.
Yeah. So it's just making a smart choice for our future.
So speaking of which, you, even though you're new to social media, I think Tori, she's your partner?
She is, yeah.
Okay, she's been very public about the two of you before you even came to social media, and she's extremely popular with the fans.
Yeah, I'm realizing this.
That makes you officially a part of a real life power couple.
Does it? I mean, I don't feel powerful. And maybe I should start acting powerful and important. I'll start putting my hair a bit more.
You could be the Brangelina of Australia.
Just clicking my fingers and hoping that someone should have brought me a cup of tea by now, but no one has.
Right now, a fan is watching this and saying, where? Just tell me.
Exactly.
Yeah,
there's a teapot whistling somewhere in the world right now.
So have they given you squish names yet, like Tate or Corey or?
I think I saw #Shackerson, which I think is
adorable. They're going for
the last names.
Damn, I thought I was onto something.
Well, you were onto it. You were just on in the wrong way. So you've been open about your relationship, right?
Yeah, I have been. I've seen no reason not to be.
Any kind of a coming out story, or did you just decide to just go for it?
truly exactly that. And I have to say that it's oddly similar to Bee's journey in that I just never considered that I was anything other than, what we're told is normal. And I have had successful relationships with men, incredible men, and I just never thought that it was odd or wrong to also be attracted to women. And then when one comes along that you want to spend more time with, you just do. And so it never felt to me like it was a defining part of my personality, which I guess is a very unique experience for people in our community, because I certainly know a lot of men and women who have known from a very young age that they just feel differently to other people, and that there's something that's different, and obviously that can affect someone's life in a huge way, to feel like you have to own up to a part of your personality that maybe people don't think is right. But that was never my journey. So no, I never felt like I needed to come out or make a statement or anything like that. It's just I happened to be in a relationship with a wonderful person who was a woman.
Well, it's
organic. It's wonderful.
And it's also quite special because people in the industry usually are, not so quick or not so open about it as you have been from the very first moment. And it's beautiful and refreshing, and
it's not an issue.
Beautiful.
And
it's sad that and I really do understand why people in our industry, and again in life, I understand why people feel uncomfortable about being wholly honest about who they are. It's so sad that unfortunately people still do get judged for that kind of thing and marginalized. And I feel very, very lucky that I live in a world and I'm surrounded by friends and family and fans who would never see my personal relationships as anything other than totally normal. So that's an incredible gift that I have received, and it makes me sad that not everyone's journey has been so easy and accepted as mine.
Well, I think your story inspires others.
It really does.
And
I think it gives people a lot of courage and hope.
Yeah.
But it is a better time now. Also, it's easier than it ever was. And doesn't mean it's easy, but it's much better.
It's better. But I think that also, I know you're modest, and it's like you said, I'm just now starting to understand that these things matter to people, and I think that you, especially since you're playing a gay woman on television, so you attract a lot of lesbian fans, and seeing your real life story and your openness, and you're embracing this, and you're just being, proud of who you are, and it's not even a question. It never was a question. You just came on Instagram and that was it. It means so much to people.
That's good. And that's great. And I'm so pleased to hear that. And I do hope that we are getting closer. And I think you're right that we are. We're getting closer to a point where we never second guess being open about the people that we love. Because it should never be considered anything other than totally normal
and wonderful. And if you're lucky enough to find somebody that you love so much and who loves you back, and you share your life together in harmony, then why should that ever be a bad thing? So.
I agree. Couldn't agree more.
But however, though, how much exercise does she make you do, though? That would be a serious problem for me.
It would certainly be for me.
Let me just crash a few theories down in flames here. I work out more than she does.
Whoa! Okay. Oh.
She does get up at some ungodly hour to go running. Almost every morning she gets up at 5 o'clock to go running. Don't ask me why. It makes no sense to me. But I feel like I do. I feel like I work. I feel like I do more squats. There are some more bicep curls. I feel like I do the work.
Well,
the work that
you may need to post some pictures to show that off,
especially the bicep. Right?
I'll see what I can do. But no, Tori likes yelling at people and telling people what to do, like squat more, give me 10 push-ups, do more burpees. But she doesn't actually like doing that herself.
Did you say burpees?
Burpees. Have you ever done a burpee?
Never in my life. I burped, but
I could do 10 burps, no problem, but 10 burpees.
what is a burpee?
A burpee is this hideous concoction of exercises where you jump in the air, and then immediately you hit the floor, do a push-up, and jump again.
I know what that
Oh,
is.
I'd
I never knew it was called that.
I'd have to go to the hospital immediately.
It's a thing that only crazy people enjoy. So
And you
I don't
enjoy
do
or
it.
You just do it. You don't actually enjoy it.
Exactly. I feel that about exercise in general. I do it because I'm cripplingly vain, but that's about it.
I know the feeling.
Yes, but
I
you
don't
have a feeling, but you
exercise.
don't actually.
I did when I was young. Let's
talk about.
I walk to the fridge and then I use my biceps to open the fridge, and then I grab the milk out and opening the milk. So I feel like that exerts a lot of energy.
Sure, that's the kind of exercise I do. I want to ask you something else about going back to acting. So you've done. They say, right, that dying is easy, comedy's hard. So you've done both. What do you think?
Interesting. I agree. For me, I think that comedy is harder because when you're dealing with drama, and this is my own personal opinion, I'm sure everybody would have a different one, but I think drama, you really only need to concentrate on the truth and what makes sense for your character. And as long as you've got that, you're going to be okay. As long as you kind of connect to some sort of truth within your character, people will pick up on that. Whereas I think in comedy, you've not only got to do that, but you've also got to make people laugh. And you have to know what your audience is, and you have to, you also have to be original. I mean, anyone can tell a joke, but not everyone can make that joke funny. So I personally find comedy to be harder because there's just an added element, and one with a lot of pressure. You're being paid to make people laugh. So I think it is a different kind of skill altogether.
It's like also chemistry and timing. You can't fake timing. A person can try to be funny. You're natural, I think. We've watched a few of your
Super Fun Night,
and Wedge, the Wedge.
Yeah.
You're funny.
I do enjoy. I think I've always enjoyed comedy, and I think perhaps I learned from a young age that if you can make people laugh, you'll always have friends, and it's an instant way to get acceptance from people. I think everybody likes to be around people who make them laugh.
Yes.
And I don't know, maybe that was a self-preservation mechanism of mine as a young kid. I just thought if I could make people laugh, then I would always have friends around. But who knows? I've just always been drawn to funny people and funny stories, and I grew up in a house where my mum and my brother have outrageous senses of humor, and I think it just kind of is perhaps in my genetics.
So as long as we're on the topic of acting, I'm going to steal one of your questions.
Oh, all right.
You have a really good American accent. You do a really good American accent.
Yeah.
So
spot on.
I mean, what did you have to do to get it? And please answer in an American accent.
Well, so I'll answer this in an Australian accent before I launch in.
Okay.
Adding the caveat here because I actually haven't had to speak in an American accent for a long time, but I'll change that now. So I don't know. I guess you go to drama school, and you can't avoid the fact that you have to have a decent American accent. If you want to go to America, if you want to work in America, you have to sound American. And
brilliant.
I guess I always had a decent ear for accents, but in Australia anyway, you're saturated with American accents. You turn on the TV and it's 2.5 Men, or it's Friends, or you turn on the radio and it's someone singing in an American accent. So it's kind of, I feel like everyone in Australia can do a decent American accent. And then I fast forward, I moved to America. I was in a show where I was playing an American girl. So you just kind of, I don't know, it becomes like a muscle, I guess. the more you go to the gym and you work out your bicep will just get stronger and stronger, and soon enough you're lifting up something that you never thought you could lift up before. And I think it's the same with accents and learning lines and all that kind of thing. The more you do it, the easier it becomes.
Obviously, because you're launched into an American accent like that. Snap.
Woo! Fantastic.
And I love that you said that you were on a show playing an American, but you were surrounded by Australian actors playing Americans.
Australian actors and Australian directors. But I do, whenever I'm in America, I find that I'll always order my coffee and my lunch in an American accent. Otherwise, they can't understand me.
Oh, I find Australian accents very easy to understand.
No,
I guess it's because we listen to them so much. No, she said in America they don't understand her. We watch so much Aussie stuff.
We do.
And I think there must be an Australian on every television show in America.
Yeah. An Australian or a Brit. A lot of them. Yeah.
They're having a bit of a renaissance in LA, in America.
And they all have great American accents.
Amazing.
And now we know why.
We find it when we go on IMDb. I said, wait, here's another Aussie. Here's another Brit.
But they teach them in school.
I think we have a pretty good work ethic down here, and I think that it's usually the actors that have gone through some kind of formal education and really put in the hard yards that often they're the ones that make it across the pond to America. And so we have a kind of a hunger and a desire to do good. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's just a wonderful country, and the amount of amazing content that you guys produce in America, it's so appealing to us Aussies because we make fantastic television here, but the industry is so small that if you want to have a sustained, diverse career, you sort of have to get out of your comfort zone and get overseas, because there's a limit to what you can achieve in Australia, I think, and not because the industry is limited, but just there's only a certain amount of jobs that are ever in production at one time.
The sheer volume of work, it's just not really there, and there's so many good Australian actors. So there's a lot of people there for every job. I mean, there is in America too, but we produce so much here on every different level. Yeah,
exactly.
So let's talk a little bit about Allie again, because we have to. How are we doing on time, by the way? Are you in a hurry? Right. Are you okay?
Well, the only thing I need to worry about is my level of battery, and I think I'm sure I've got at least 30 minutes.
So. Okay, great. So, first, so you already told us, a little bit about your audition for Allie. What did you know about her coming in, and what was your audition? The first one, we know that you did a chemistry audition with Danielle, but what was that audition before that first audition for Allie like?
Well, first of all, preceding my initial audition, I think I've told this story before on some other platform, but it's a good one, so I'll tell it again. I was sick in bed in LA. I had the flu, and my friend Rebel had told me, you have to watch Wentworth. It's fantastic. And I guess I've been avoiding the show because I knew so many people in it. It's hard for me to suspend my disbelief. And so I'd been avoiding watching it, but I thought, what the hell, I'll watch it. Of course, I binge-watched the entire 2 seasons. I thought it was fabulous, and I was hooked. But I thought that was it. I thought 2 seasons, and they were done. And then I was having lunch with a friend of mine who was in Wentworth. She played, I don't know what her character's name was, but Frankie always called her Bubble Butt. Her name's Kasha Kesmary. And she was one of Frankie's minions. Mm-hmm. And gorgeous girl, amazing actor. And I said, hey, I've been watching Wentworth. It's amazing. You're amazing. I've been loving the show. And she said, well, we just shot a 3rd season and we're going to be shooting a 4th season. And there was just something that kind of went off in the back of my head. And I just thought, okay, I think I'm going to be in that 4th season. And cut to about 2 months later, I was in Australia doing a different job. And I was having breakfast with my agent, and she said, so Wentworth called. And I said, that's fine, I've got the job. Whatever the job is, I've got it. I'm getting it. And
called you?
Yeah, I just knew that I was going to get the job. So they didn't call me specifically. They said that there's a new character. We would like you to audition for it. And I, with all the confidence in the world, said, yes, I'll be taking that job. Thank you very much. I walked into the audition with just a astonishing amount of confidence. I just had a feeling that it was meant to be. And so I did my first audition, and I was quite happy with myself. And then about a week later, they said, "Well, we'd like you to do a chemistry test with Danielle." And as I said before, I was completely scandalized because I thought, well, you can't improve on perfection. You got all of me the first time, but of course, it was great to do a chemistry read with Dan
And necessary. I mean, it didn't mean that you weren't great. It meant you were great to begin with.
Exactly.
Absolutely. No, this is just my out of control ego and laziness too. I just didn't want to have to do it. But of course, it was wonderful. It was absolutely necessary to test that relationship, the B Ali dynamic. And I think the character was initially written a lot differently. I think they had a very different idea of who Ali would be. I certainly feel like I was the odd person in the group of girls that were there on the day I auditioned. I certainly felt like I was the odd choice. But there you go. You know, sometimes you can not be what is written on the page, but if something clicks, if the chemistry's right, then that's all that matters. So I feel intensely lucky that
You molded the character.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's fantastic.
I wanted to ask you too. We asked Nick this too. Was there something ever in the script that you really, really wanted, or you didn't want, that you fought for or fought against and got changed?
Yeah, and it's actually something that thrills the viewers, and I'm so glad it did because Dan and I fought for it. So in the beautiful scenes between her, B, and I, when we're in our isolation cells next to each other.
Oh, my favorite.
I loved it so much, and there was obviously scripted a whole lot of getting to know you dialogue, and we were opening up to one another and bonding and getting and learning about each other's stories. And it was written absolutely beautifully, and we both loved it. But Dan and I both felt very strongly that Ali needed to kind of be the key that unlocked something in B's chest. She kind of needed to help B fly into some kind of different stratosphere. And we both felt very strongly that Ali needed to just make B laugh and make her feel comfortable and just kind of be a little looser. And so we both suggested that Ali just starts rapping, and
So brilliant.
And kind of forces or invites B into a kind of a world of craziness that she'd never really been into before. And I'm glad that they agreed to that, because I feel like it's important that Ali was always light, and you know, despite her surroundings and despite her lack of freedom, she was able to find kind of an inner freedom, and I think that's what B needed so desperately.
Yes, there was. She was she was light, and she was optimistic, and in spite of everything, she loved life.
Yeah.
And actually, we got a chance to talk to Jet about that episode and about that scene, and she said that you. Yes, I know. We feel, we always say our very own Jet Wilkinson is now directing, and I mean, we feel a family.
Yes, a kinship.
A kinship. She said that you shot it with 2 cameras so that you can have the interaction, which was brilliant, because so much of it had to be shot together. I mean, otherwise, I mean, you know, because we marveled at that scene and how you managed to get so much out of each other.
Oh, it was magnificent. It was one of my favorite things of the whole season.
Oh, I'm so pleased. We really loved it too. We really did. And I think it was so rewarding for the viewers to see be childlike again and having real fun, legitimate fun, because her world was so devoid of that. And I think that was the key to their relationship. Ali had to be this kind of playful, warm, cuddly blanket of security and love and trust for B. Otherwise, it just wouldn't have worked. I mean, the prison is full of gorgeous, sexy women like Frankie and all the, you know, we're saturated with that kind of archetypal idea of a hot lesbian, you know, Laura Capron from Orange is the New Black, gorgeous tats, and there's a reason that women like that are so attractive and so kind of idolized. But I think what B needed was something completely different to that.
And, you know, we were thinking also about another scene that we loved, the love scene, which we found extremely surprising. We were very impressed. We never thought Wentworth would go there. There was no indication in previous seasons that there would be anything, because, you know, it's not about the sex. It was a truly erotic, romantic
love scene.
Beautiful love scene. They took their time, the golden hues. It was just so beautiful, the silhouettes. I mean, it was really idealized. And we were wondering...
I'm glad that you like... Sorry, what were you going to say?
No, I was just going to ask if you were privy to the decision making, if you and Danielle worked things together, or was it purely
all
choreographed?
directed?
We did. The wonderful thing about the creative team on this show is that they are incredibly inclusive, and they allow us so much leeway in terms of our own creative opinions and that kind of thing. It's very unique in terms of, you know, being an actor in a show. Often you're just told to shut up and say the line the way it's written and don't ask any questions. But no, we are afforded a lot of input, which is really lovely. And so Dan and I did have, obviously, a lot of input and opinions on how that scene should be. And I remember I took issue with that scene. I felt like for a woman who'd never been with a woman before, it perhaps was a little easy. And I remember sort of not fighting with the director, but kind of, my opinion was that it shouldn't have been so easy for B to reach climax and all the rest of it. But what the director said, which was completely right, and I take my hat off to him, he understood the dynamic better than I did, was that it had nothing to do with sex. It didn't really have anything to do with orgasming or anything like that. It was about the intimacy and the trust. And that's what I think the director Kev captured so brilliantly.
Absolutely. And was there ever, at any stage, any kind of hesitance or attempts to like pull back on how much exactly?
Not you.
Explicit? No, not on you.
Not you.
Not on Lauren.
I felt like
no.
I thought that there were obvious aspects of women having sex with women that weren't shown. And I think I was thinking too logically about it. I'm like, well, you know, most women need this kind of thing and most women have that kind of thing. Whereas he rightly showed me that it wasn't about sex really at all. It was about B finally feeling loved and surrendering her intimacy to someone.
Especially since it came off right after she relinquished Top Dog, right? So it was just the whole letting go and letting
liberation, just feeling free.
It was beautiful
and light.
Yeah, the sex itself was kind of inconsequential, but
there was an ecstasy about it that I just loved.
It was beautiful. So, just since we're on kind of a similar topic, what was your first celebrity crush?
Yes, we're getting to the trivia part of our evening.
Need to hydrate for that question. My first celebrity crush. Well, I want to do a shout out to Astro Boy because he was my first kind of I feel deep feelings for Astro Boy, even though he was a cartoon. Celebrity crush. Jeez. Oh God, probably Mark Paul Gosselaar from Saved by the Bell.
Really?
Really?
You are a true 80s child.
Yes. Yeah. And then, of course, I mean, I feel like every man, woman, and child loved Leonardo DiCaprio when they watched
Titanic.
Yeah, Titanic and Romeo and Juliet.
Okay. First woman crush? Celebrity woman crush?
Woman crush. Man.
Jeez, I can come up with like 100 right now.
Yes, but you're a gold star lesbian.
I think the first time I saw an image of Lara Croft Tomb Raider
That is
her.
it.
You're a classic
Oh,
Angelina
yeah.
Jolie.
Yeah, not necessarily Angelina Jolie, but the almost like the cartoon representation of her, just this badass woman. And so I actually asked if in Ali's cell she could have a big poster of Lara Croft, and there is. There's one.
love it. That's
I love
a
it.
very good
Boomer
choice.
has kittens and cakes, and you have
Lara Croft.
Pretty good.
Very, very excellent.
So,
No, you go. Fine.
on your resume, what do you have listed under other skills?
Should I know this, or is this something that is actually on my resume?
Well, I don't
Is
know
it
if
not?
it's on your
I mean,
resume.
you know,
It was on my
right,
resume.
singing,
Horseback riding,
fencing.
singing, right, fencing, speaking Spanish. You don't have that?
We do, and I think because when you graduate from drama school here, you have to fill out one of those huge forms that they put on your online bio. And I think in my other skills, I'm sure I have horse riding and juggling, neither of which I can do. I would have tap dancing because I am actually legitimately a good tap dancer. I think I would, I think the truly embarrassing admission is that I would say leg model because I have incredibly long legs.
I wonder what happened in that pause. What happened there in that pause?
It's a great gift.
I'm battling with my sheer humiliation that I'm admitting this, but I think in some world I must have conceived that there was a possibility that I could get hired as like a leg model.
Why not?
And so
You've got them.
I think I wrote down that one of my skills was leg modeling.
I love it.
Thank God you skipped that stage with never having to use it, right? Just straight to actress.
Yeah, I have never been hired as a leg model. So if anyone's watching this who's in need of some stockings that need to be modeled, I'm your girl.
I was just going to say, you may be getting some calls now.
Now, if you had a show that you were starring in, a TV show.
That was the question I was going to ask.
Oh, go ahead.
No, that went out of my brain. You go ahead with it.
That was centered around, you were the central character. What would you like her to be?
The Lara Croft thing made me think about that, too.
Oh, see, I think that's the reason that I'm attracted to that kind of woman, is that it's so opposite to me. I'm not a tough, kick-ass kind of person myself. So I think I'm attracted to what is not myself. I think if I was to create a show that was about me, it would be me and a select group of girlfriends, and we would run a professional karaoke competition. And it would kind of be Glee-esque in that we would sing in every episode. There'd be lots of glitter. I just want the opportunity to be able to sing Ice Ice Baby and get paid for it on some kind of international television platform.
Well, we can't pay you, but
yeah,
feel free.
Yeah, exactly.
I would be here all day doing that. I know every single time.
You're not threatening.
So do you sing? Would that be also on an other?
Oh, I sing very, very averagely. There is absolutely nothing sellable or impressive about my singing voice, but I love singing and I love karaoke. So yeah, I think that, yeah, and I have kind of had a thought of this idea for a show. It's the girls who run a professional karaoke group.
I think
and
you can sell that.
Wait, but
I think you can sell that.
Karaoke?
Why not?
But kind of like White Men Can't Jump, in that they hustle people into thinking that they're not going to be very good, but then they're really good. I haven't thought about all the intricacies, but that's my idea. Something to do with karaoke.
You get back to us.
I think it's very original. We were thinking detective, doctor,
superhero.
Superhero. Yours is original.
Well, the way I do karaoke, you would think that I was a superhero.
So I think we'll do a final question.
Yep.
What are your hopes for Ali for season 5? Your personal hopes. Has nothing to do with whatever ends up happening.
Gosh, that's a good question. I hope that she can find release. I hope that she can let go of her anger. And I hope that she can get to the stage where she realizes that life is life is always worth living despite the toughest of circumstances.
You know, I find
because she's still got a lot to live.
I found it interesting that you said that in your mind, Allie had such a bad life on the outside that prison is actually comforting to her.
I think that, yeah.
So you think that the next 10 years of her life are actually going to be constructive and good?
I certainly hope that they will be for her. I think that Allie has got a lot to live for in general, but I think that she is a particular case in the prison where she has a quality of life inside that she didn't have on the outside, and despite the terrible things that happen within the prison walls, there's always a reason to keep going, and I hope that she fights. Yeah,
I love that. I think she will. I think she's a beautiful character. I think she's going to be okay.
And I think she's going to be important to lift other people up in the prison. I think that she has the kind of spirit that really is contagious and would be very important for the other prisoners. So,
yeah, I agree.
She's a beautiful character. You've infused her with a lot of warmth and beauty and light, and she's terrific. You're great.
Thank you so much, ladies. It's been a pleasure playing her for you.
This is fantastic.
Thank you so much for giving us all this time. I am praying that this recorded. I'm going to.
Well, there's no reason it didn't, except we're Jewish and we worry about these things. What can I say?
Well, if it didn't, you are more than welcome to call me back another time.
Thank you so much, Kate.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for your loveliness and your generosity.
And give Rufus a kiss for us.
Yes, and all the cast members. Go and kiss everybody now for us.
Tell them we love them all.
Chick though first.
There you go.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Thank you so much.
Have a beautiful day.
Have a great day. Bye, love.
Bye.